And Teresa said that she's not going to be able to be here because her dog has diabetes and needs to be cared for. It's actually sad that I said that, but it also sounds like a lame excuse at the same time. That's why I said it so funny, because it sounds like the thing you'd say, my dog ate my homework kind of thing. But no, she really needed to take care of that. So anyway, well, why don't y'all share what you did since last week with your website. And so y'all can just, whoever wants to go first, and then go around.
I changed my Psychology Today profile. So, yeah, with that format, like before and then process and then after.
Way to go. And how was that for you? Was it difficult or pretty easy? Or you feel good about it?
Yeah, I feel good about it.
Way to go.
Thank
All
you.
right. Yeah, if you want to pass it to somebody.
Stephanie?
I'm working right now on, well, I had some consistency I had to work on across my web pages. I had some formatting things, and I'm also working on changing it from so the group practice to like the language is something I'm having to get in and kind of consider. So that's been where a lot of my time has been on the website.
Pass it.
Chris, go ahead.
I haven't done a lot of anything, to be honest. It's been a hectic week, but I have spoken with a friend of mine who does some video editing stuff, and so to set up some counselor interview type things to go with the blogs of my counselor spotlights that you're talking about. So, and he's available. I just have to figure out when I'll make that work and get everything put together for that to be effective.
Awesome. You want to pass it?
Kim?
I did a big COVID spiral last week. I'm just gonna name it. I just had really tough clients, and so I didn't work on the website. And I broke my foot, and that's just, everything just kind of felt like it. You know, everything I do for self-care, which is hiking and getting outside, all that stuff, I feel like kind of got wiped away from me. And so, yeah, I'm doing better. I'm digging up out of it. But when I saw this, I was like, uh-oh.
Well,
I don't really have anything to share, but I really did have a rough go of it, just emotionally last week. So.
Well, that's how business ownership is. Sometimes it takes a back seat to ourselves and our families and our needs. So that's okay. And you know what? You're getting all the information now, and you'll be able to go back and work on things when you have the time.
Yeah, I feel much better today, and yeah.
Cool.
Doing good. So.
All right. Deanne, how are you?
Oh, I'm hanging in there. I sent your email ago. I didn't think I was going to make it.
Oh, yeah.
Email issues again, and cell phone problems, connection issues. But nonetheless, I have been working on my, I've been revising some things. As I stated, I'm opening up the practice. And so I just had to find out some things that I probably wouldn't want to do. So I just kind of working on my internet pages, some content that I wanted to add. And so I'm still in the process. I have made some progress, just not where I want to be. But I should be able to catch up later this weekend.
Awesome. Well, good job.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we are going to talk about referrals today. And let me pull up.
My favorite.
What? Yeah. Here we go. Screen share. I actually didn't realize how much I had to say about it until I started putting something together. And I realized I had a lot to say about it. And Stephanie helped me a little bit, gave me a few questions to be thinking about. So I kind of incorporated those here. But all right, so we're going to talk about how to build relationships with referral sources that actually gets you clients instead of building relationships that go nowhere. Can everyone hear my baby screaming? Everybody hears that? Yeah, okay. Well, she's okay. She's got somebody with her. You don't need to fret. In fact, she's got 2 people with her. So anyway, here we go. First of all, before we kind of get into this, I do want to say that this is no overnight fix. Like, It really takes a long time to build a really good name in your community and to get really good referral relationships going. So it's a process that happens over time. And as I was kind of prepping the presentation, I was kind of thinking about where I was when I was a solo practitioner and where I'm at now. And those relationships, a lot of them that I started reaching out to at the beginning are ones that now consistently refer to the group practice. And there was a long time where it was really, I might not have gotten a lot of referrals from that. Or just as if you do have a group practice, you will find that as your group grows, those people gain a reputation and that leads to referral sources. So it kind of can feel like slow moving and then all of a sudden be an explosion. So it's that consistency and faithfulness to your referral relationships that'll really get you somewhere in the long run. So anyway, I think it's just a good like mindset going into it. All right. So the first thing I want you to do is think about that ideal client that we discussed in the very first time we got together. And I want you to write down right now 10 different places or up to 10 places where you think that ideal person spends their time. So this could be an actual location where they spend their time, like physical. It could be an online location. It could be maybe something in print, something they read or something they watch. Like if, you know, gosh, the only thing I can think of is if they watch Fox News. Anyway, they watch some kind of news channel that they like to watch or something like that. So I'll give you all a few minutes to write those down. And I'm going to show y'all an example here in case you're having a hard time. So this is going to be my ideal client for the remainder of this presentation, an anxious mother with young children. So I'm thinking, where do anxious moms hang out and moms with young kids? They go to the OBGYN, they go to yoga. MOPS is mothers of preschoolers, which by the way, if you work with women, that is a great place to connect for referrals. Speaking of MOPS event. These moms are probably going to church. They are definitely on Pinterest, Facebook, Instagram. They might Savannah Magazine is like a local magazine here that a lot of people read, and it's in a lot of doctors' offices and stuff. So I put that on there if there's like a local publication that you have that people read, and then the children's school. So they might be like on the PTA, something like that. All right. Could one of you, I'd love for one of you to just kind of share what you came up with for locations and your ideal client.
I screwed it up. I thought you meant where our referral source was gonna be hanging out.
Well, let's do yours. You're couples, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
When you were having us do it, I was thinking, I thought you meant where our referral source would hang out. I was like, God, I don't know.
No. So where the ideal client is hanging out. So what would you say your ideal client, what age of couple do you like to work with? Like couples that are new in their marriage, been married for a while, older?
I love working with that client that has, is kind of in the thick of it, you know. They might be babies, but more like elementary to teenage parents, because I think this is where marriages really get rough. And I like to give them hope that this will pass and you can keep going and persevere and that kind of thing. So that's my ideal client, which is a tough one because they can't always do appointments either.
Which is why their marriage is struggling, right? Because they don't have time for themselves.
They can't get the time.
Yep. So where do you think those people, are there any physical locations that you think these people are hanging out?
Well, yeah, probably soccer fields and, you know, wherever their kids are hanging out, honestly. They're in that place where they're driving the kids around, they're hanging with the kids. I've often thought of the PTAs, I think, is a smart way to go. And maybe even right now, it might even be really good to have a COVID pump up.
That's good. I actually spoke at my child's school's PTA last Tuesday. It was a
Yeah.
virtual, so you could maybe talk to your kids' school. I spoke at a couple of high schools last year, their PTA meetings about suicide prevention.
Okay. Yeah.
So even though you'd be talking about a teen issue, you're getting your name out there and you let them know that you also see couples.
Right.
You could consider advertising sports stuff. I will say I never really have a lot of success with that kind of stuff, but I think it's different in different areas.
But church is the main one though, and that's why I want to do this thing because you know, I always go back to that's when my husband and my marriage was falling apart. So I like to, and there's not that many people there for you when that's happening. So but we could make it to church mainly because you could check in the kids and there was
There's childcare.
you could sit down and not be interrupted and not, you know, I don't even know if it was so much the message at church. It was just like, oh, no conflict.
I get it.
Yeah.
Great. All right. So everybody got any questions about this exercise, what we just did? Everybody able to accomplish that? Okay, cool. All right. So I want you to spend your time and money investing in locations where your ideal client hangs out. I think too often people feel like, and we've talked about this within marketing, they just throw their money at different ideas and things, and they're not really thinking, this is where my ideal client is, right? I mean, you want to put your money in places where your ideal client is hanging out. Makes sense. All right. So how do you actually start to create a referral relationship? Number one, first you have to identify who you want to reach out to. So that was the exercise we just did. So you want to decide what type of location you want to connect with and then find those places within that location. So for the example here that I'm using, this anxious woman, the first location I had there was an OBGYN office. So if I want to connect with gynecologists, then I want to name a couple of different offices that I might want to connect with. Okay, and so I could go, well, we'll talk about how to do that in just a second. I want you to also consider how they may serve the same person you serve. So like, for example, I'm a cash pay practice. So if I can find someone who does kind of cash pay work as a gynecologist, that's like an ideal. Like there's some nurse practitioners out there that are very holistic that don't take insurance, or maybe they help women with natural things. They don't charge insurance. So those would be people I would want to connect with. Or if you specifically maybe take Medicare in your practice, finding doctors that specifically work with Medicare clients so that y'all can have a mutual relationship referring back and forth. So considering some locations and then that they serve the same kind of client that you do. And then finding a warm connection. So a warm connection is somehow you already have a connection instead of it being a cold call is what we would call it, which means you don't know the person at all. So if you have a location where you already have a relationship that exists, even if it's not necessarily a professional relationship, utilize that relationship. So the example is speak to your own OBGYN to find if they have places where they refer clients, and then talk to friends or clinicians to get a warm connection. So a couple of ways. First of all, when you're a therapist, you're so used to listening to other people and it's hard to be bold and market yourself. You've got to be bold and market yourself in this way, right? And I can tell you hands down, how many people will say to me, I've been looking for someone to refer to, but they just don't know who to refer to, who's out there. One of my best referral sources at a church was a woman who said, I knew about the other practices in town. They've been they're not really meeting the needs of the type of client. I've been looking for someone to refer to. And I was like, yeah, refer to me. I have a really good relationship with a pediatric facility in town. That's because I went to the doctor with my kids and I said to the doctor, hey, do you have anyone you refer to for counseling? And he was like, well, yeah, we got a list of people. So he said, but I'd be happy to add you to the list. So I put in my name and now we've been added to the list and we get tons of referrals. In fact, we just got our third staff referral from that place. So now we're seeing one doctor and 2 NPs from that practice, which is really funny to me. They just keep referring the kids and now the professionals are coming. Another example, an OBGYN office, my assistant, she loves her OBGYN. She's from this area. And she was like, hey, let's go over there. So we went over there. And I'm going to kind of walk through that process with you in a second. But when we went in there, we brought like sandwiches from somewhere, and we just sat in a little room, and they came in and said hello, and we gave them a sandwich, and we gave them some trifolds, you know, of our info. And what was really funny was the man came in, one of the doctors came in and was like, do any of your therapists work with substance abuse? And we were like, yeah. And he goes, okay, well, I need to refer someone right now. It was like right there. And the woman was in the next room at that time. And I can tell you that has happened to me on multiple occasions where I will show up somewhere to do a referral, and they will have someone at their office immediately needing to be referred. So getting in the community, talking with people and telling them who you are will make a huge, huge difference. So if you have any kind of warm connection to anyone, oh, another connection I made with an OBGYN office. This is like another crazy one. My girlfriend, she's talking to me about her son. He goes to a different school than my kids. She says, oh, well, he's playing with this other little boy, and we're becoming good friends with that family, and she's an OBGYN in town. And I said, oh, you're friends with an OBGYN? Will you connect me with that person? Like, always be thinking about this. So she texts me and this other lady in a text thread. And then I get on the phone with her for about 10, 20 minutes. I listen to her talk about her stress at her job and how she loves her kids and never sees them. And then we discuss the problems of being a working mom. And then I tell her about how she should refer people to me. And I take flyers over there and I leave them at her office. She's so busy, there's no way I could do like an actual meeting with her. I just kind of randomly see her at things. So, but yeah, she refers people to us, all because I just said to my friend, will you connect me to that person? So if your kids play soccer, we were just talking about soccer, and maybe one of the other parents is a doctor in town, just walk up and say, hey, do you refer to people? Do you have counselors you refer to? Y'all would be shocked. This whole OBGYN thing, how many OBGYNs have no idea what they're doing with referrals for postpartum depression, and they don't even really know how to assess for that. So if you can get in with one of them, you're doing really good. All right, so a warm connection is going to take you much further than a cold one, but you know what? We don't always have warm connections. So if possible, have someone you know connect you to the potential referral source. And then there's my example there about my friend. And if you don't have a warm connection, you're going to have to do some kind of cold reach out to somebody. Email, phone, social media, if appropriate. Sometimes you can like send a message through social media, you know, depending on the situation. All right, so you're thinking, okay, how do I actually go from some cold relationship to getting a referral? The most important part of any referral relationship is the relationship, and you're really good at that. You're a therapist, you know how to connect with people. And so instead of feeling intimidated by the idea of my business is on the line, I got to get referrals, this is, I don't know, I just feel like the business world is so different. You know, we're really just here to make a relationship. You're here, it's not just about getting the referrals, you're honestly there to help that person in their job, right? And when I talked about, I did the webinar with churches, which most of you were at, the idea that like pastors are totally slammed and overwhelmed with everything coming into their office. So you are helping them by saying, hey, I'm here to help. Like if you have someone that you can't see more than 2 sessions, refer them to me. So it's not just about getting the client, it's about making it easier on their life and helping the needs that they have as an organization. And so we're going to talk about that, but having a relationship with them is where it's at, because that's how you're going to get those referrals. Okay, so what are you going to say when you first talk to somebody? The most important part is you're going to be yourself. You're an awesome counselor and you have really important things to offer other people. Do y'all know that we're in the top 8% of intelligence or with master's degrees in the nation? Like only 8% of people get a master's degree, and we're up there. Like you are very qualified to be able to help people. And so you've got to make it known that that's what you're here to do, and let them know that you're really good at it, because you are. All right, so the format of this first interaction, this is first contact. So when I say contact, I mean before you actually meet the person, what are you going to say on the phone or in an email to get from I don't know you to maybe I'll get to know you? So just be authentic, like introduce yourself. Hey, you know, I'm Whitney Owens, right? Let them know that you would like to I'm saying that wrong. Let the referral know that you would like to get to know them and hear more about the work that they do. So Then, and the examples at the bottom, tell them that you want to be able to refer to their organization, explain why. So, hi, my name's Whitney. I've been searching for an OBGYN to refer young women with needs for medical evaluations or who are recently pregnant or having postpartum depression symptoms. Would you be willing to talk for a few minutes about your practice and what you offer and see if we can have a mutual referral relationship? Pretty simple. That makes sense to everybody, kind of how to introduce yourself to someone you don't know and make that relationship? You're going to have some people that just completely ignore you, and that's okay. You're just going to do the best you can. But don't make it just, hey, I'm Whitney. I'm a therapist in town. Do you have any women you want to refer to me for postpartum depression? I'd take those. You see how that's so marketing? And you want to really make it about how can I help you in what you're already doing? Because you know what? These OBGYNs, they don't know how to refer. They don't know how to work this. So we got to show them how to do it. And so we can say, hey, I know how to do an evaluation for someone for postpartum depression. Why don't you refer to me to make their life easier? Do y'all have any questions so far? Everybody good? Yeah, good. Okay. So how are you going to move past that first call or your first email? So let's say they respond and say, that sounds great. Would love to have a mutual referral relationship. So then you can offer to go by their office. And honestly, that I think hands down is the best thing you can do. Obviously, COVID's making things crazy. But at least here, of course, I'm in Georgia. They opened up first. But anyway, so we are going everywhere pretty much. But talk to them about what they're comfortable with. Hey, do you mind if I stop by and see your space or meet you in person? Or would you be more comfortable if we did, a Zoom call? Or, hey, can we jump on the phone for a few minutes? Or do you mind if my marketing person, or if I drop off some flyers for you so you can have them in your office? What do you think would be easier for you? Or maybe if you could offer to meet them outside somewhere, like a pastor might say, hey, we have a little garden at our church. Why don't we sit outside and have some coffee? We each bring our own coffee or whatever. So I think you can be creative with this. An in-person interaction is going to take you a lot further, I think, than just a phone interaction if you can make it happen. But I understand that it's not always possible. But try to be creative, bring your own lunch. They bring their own lunch. Maybe I'll just take a walk around a local park and you talk to each other about work or about referrals and stuff like that. I also, this isn't on here, but I also think you can just do that really casually if you see them in another location. So we were talking about the soccer field. Like, go ahead and talk to them at the soccer field about their practice and about referring and how they refer to people. And if you could be helpful to them, like you could have that conversation outside of a professional setting. In fact, sometimes it's better that way. I mean, I use every interaction as an opportunity to tell people about my practice. So I actually get I get a lot of referrals from Supper Club. If you listen to my podcast, you've heard me talk about Supper Club, but it's when a bunch of women get together and we eat and have drinks and talk about everything. And they all know I'm a therapist. And so I'm always getting referrals from them, or they're helping connect me to other people to get referrals. So everything's an opportunity for that. So for the example here on when you are meeting with them, you could also offer to do a presentation for their staff in the first meeting. So with the pediatric place that I have the relationship with, the first time I ever went over there, when he was like, oh, sure, you can refer to us, I said, okay, can I bring y'all lunch sometime? And he got me connected to the lady that schedules it. And I took lunch for the staff and I did a presentation on how to assess for suicide with a teenager. And then how do you refer out? Do you send them to a hospital? How do you get them to the hospital? Do they do outpatient treatment? Do they do a day treatment program? What does that look like? So I just did a presentation on that and they found it super helpful. There was another time we did a presentation on eating issues with teens. How do you know if they have an eating disorder or not? What's the difference? With this example here, the OBGYN office, another time we created a really small card. It's one of those long cards. We created it in Canva, and one side was about our practice, and the other side was what is postpartum depression and how do I know if I have it. So it had facts, symptoms, and different modes of treatment. CBT is really effective for this, and then our practice on the other side. And we gave it to them, and they just put it on the tables in their lobby. So it's something you could totally do during COVID. It would help them, and it helps you. It's a win-win. So, all right. So that's how you kind of get to having a relationship, offering to meet with them. And so when you're getting together with them, what kind of things are you going to say? First of all, be yourself. I like to say that all the time, but it's who you are that makes you a great counselor. And that's why people are going to want to refer to you, because they like you. So be yourself and be likable. And then just get to know them first before you're talking about your own practice and the work you do. Hey, tell me about your line of work. Tell me your story. Did you start this practice? How long have you been here? What made you decide to become a doctor? That kind of stuff. Ask them then, what are some of the challenges that you face when you come in? And so the other reason I did that presentation about suicide was the doctors at that pediatric place had said, it's really hard for us because we only have 15 minutes to be with a patient because we have other patients scheduled. So how do we, evaluate in 15 minutes what somebody needs? Okay. So then I was like, oh, well, here's how you do it to meet that need. So coming up with finding out what their challenges are and asking them what those are when you meet with them, especially considered mental health concerns within their job. And then you want to talk about yourself. Yes. Tell them about you and how great you are, what your specialty is, how long you've been a therapist, how great your practice is, and how amazing you are. Tell them why you decided to become a therapist. Talk about the benefits of therapy. Like, so you might even be saying something like, yes, I found that CBT is a really great form of treatment for women with postpartum. Hey, I remember working with a woman who had postpartum depression and couldn't sleep. Within 8 weeks, she was able to sleep through the night, yada, yada. Like, why your specific ability meets their specific need. And then offering guidance on a specific issue or situation. Okay. And so maybe they say to you, they're having a hard time dealing with X, Y, and Z with a patient. I can't think of something at the moment. And so maybe you could say to them, oh, I've seen that in my office before. Why don't you suggest these 3 things? And that for you, that's going to come right off the top of your head, because this is the kind of work you do all the time. For them, they're going to be like, dang, she's smart or he's smart. They know what they're doing, and then they're going to want to refer to you more often because you're offering them really specific advice on a specific situation. They see that you know your stuff. So that's pretty great. All right. And then I want you to consider being creative. So after you listen to the person, they're going to tell you about a difficult situation or the pain that they have at their business. You're going to offer that quick solution, which is going to offer value and expertise to them. And then I want you to explain how the professional relationship can be helpful for both of you, as you can get mutual referrals and take stress off of them. So the example here is the OBGYN does not do evaluations, and if they can't do those evals in 15 minutes. So maybe you say, okay, well, if you have someone that needs an evaluation, you can send them to me and I will schedule them within 24 hours. Now, you better hope you could schedule them within 24 hours if you're going to offer something. Or maybe like with churches, I talked about this a little in the church presentation, you form a special relationship. So like, for example, we have churches that refer to us that the church covers the first session. So anytime they refer, we know that church is going to cover the first session. And so that's kind of a special relationship that we have with them. We will make an appointment available and they'll pay for that appointment. So being creative in what you want to give to a place to meet a specific need. So maybe at an OBGYN office, you say, okay, well, I'll host some kind of group for postpartum depression women because they're having a hard time finding a therapist to work with postpartum women. Or maybe they're saying, well, we want to refer to you, but we can't afford your cash pay rates. Okay, well, I'll offer a group, for 8 people at $50 a session instead of $100 a session for individual. Or, hey, I'll offer to come up to your office once a week because they feel like they can't get people to come to your office, so you're going to come to them and make it easier for them. There's a lot of options here for being creative. Let's talk about creativity. Anybody have any examples of like creative relationships they've been able to do with referral sources? None? Anybody got any referral sources they work with?
Mine are mostly other counselors.
Okay. That's still good to have.
I mean, I tried with the doctor's offices and stuff, but because I'm private pay, it,
Yeah, they are insurance crazy, aren't they?
yeah.
You know, I hear you on that, and I get the same response, but once they see that you do good treatment with clients, we're going to talk about this in a second, they will refer to you even if you don't take insurance.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And that place, that pediatric place we get the referrals from, and they take all insurance, and they refer, I don't know, one client every 2 weeks to us because they see that the kids are getting better, and then they tell the parents, hey, these kids got better when they went to this place.
Yeah.
But
Maybe
it is
that's
hard.
just my own personal kind of shutdown on it because I just feel like the conversation shuts down.
Yeah, sure. And it is a different conversation. You gotta have to explain why you don't take insurance and how that works for people. Yeah. Chris, did you have something you were gonna say?
Yeah, I'm trying to work on something right now. I actually was connected by someone else to a it's like a foster care village. This nun raised a significant amount of money and bought an old apartment complex and turned it into a foster care village where foster family parents come live, and they can take foster kids in and out of their place. It's got a clubhouse and a pool and everything, and they're actually working on a grant. And I'm trying to write up a proposal for fee for service to be able to see if we can have someone on site, which would be out of the box for us to go off site to do counseling. But just to have someone on site to do counseling for them there with all the families and groups and the kids.
That's awesome.
So it might be a really big thing. I'm not sure what it will turn into yet, but they're trying to get a grant for at least 2 years.
Wow.
That is cool.
I got some I can
My
share.
week's been very busy. That's what I've been working on outside of my website and other things.
Yeah. Way to go. That'll be such a important need. Yeah.
I got some I can share.
Yeah.
When I signed my lease, I didn't know that a guy I used to work with for years was affiliated with a realtor, and the realtor gave my number to him, and he looked me up, and he called me. He's writing he owns paper publications, and he's putting me in all his papers for nothing.
That's awesome.
Isn't that awesome? I just thought it was so cool.
That is
And
great.
as far as referrals, I've got some referrals that some people that are going to refer me business, but I refer like a lot of doctors, like the psychiatrists in the area, for the evaluations that we don't do at the agency. And the full evaluations, and they too are going to refer me people because I referred a lot of clients for kids to get, mostly kids, to get tested, to rule out ADHD and autism or whatever the case may be. And so, I'm really excited about that. That's pretty good.
That's great.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Way to go.
I have a couple chiropractors I work with, and it might be partially their personality, but people really like emotionally dump when they see them. Partially too, I think they go in so often, so that's been a helpful resource for me. And I also volunteered at a grief support nonprofit for a long time, and they do like group support. So when people need individual support, they have like a list of therapists they'll refer to. So that's been a good platform for me as well.
Awesome. Chris, when you were sharing about yours, it reminded me, we have a relationship with an organization here called Cure, which is, I think it's just a Georgia thing, but it's an organization to help children with childhood cancer. At any given time in Savannah, in our city, we have 30 to 40 kids diagnosed and getting treatment for cancer. So they will cover the first 10 sessions for either the child or a family member. And we offer all the sessions at $100, regardless of what the therapist rate is. And they pay for those first 10 sessions. So that's been a huge, it's been good for getting clients, but just being able to offer that service to that family that really is in need. And that all came because my assistant was friends with the girl that was in charge of member care for cure. And they talked one day and she said, oh, you work at a counseling agency? We've been needing a therapist to refer to. It was crazy.
You just reminded me of another one. I don't know if any of you have heard of Camaraderie Foundation, but Camaraderie Foundation, I don't know if they're only in my area. I don't think so, but they work with veterans, and they actually pay for a certain amount of sessions for any veteran that applies. And so they'll do 6 right off the top, and then you apply for more, but we've had multiple people get at least 12 sessions. Some people can even apply for more than that. They pay $100 per session, so it's not something you can change the rate on, but it is $100 per session, and all that they really require is that you do I don't know if you've heard of an ORS and an SRS evaluation, but it's a session rating scale and an outcome rating scale, or something that's very simple. The client circles some numbers on a page, and that's all that they require as proof of the session. And so it's actually we get a lot from that, but we have, Tampa has MacDill Air Force Base, which is SOCOM, it's Central Command. So I don't know if it's only in our area. I wouldn't think so, but that's something worth looking into, the Camaraderie Foundation.
I'm writing it down, actually. I have someone who works with military, so thanks. It's good.
They do families, wives, kids. It's not just the military member. It's veterans. It's everything. You can be active, veteran. It's a wide range of people qualify.
Cool. Awesome. All right. So you always want to make sure that you give more than you take with referral sources. So it's a good attitude kind of to go into that you're there to bless them and to help them, and not just about, helping yourself, obviously. So once you form that first relationship, you want to figure out, how do I keep this relationship going so that I can keep getting referral sources? So just because you don't hear from that referral source does not mean that they didn't like you or that they aren't going to refer to you. I think a lot of therapists, they reach out, they make that connection, they go to lunch with somebody, and then they don't get a referral for a month or two, and they just assume it didn't work out and they move on. And then that's a problem, because people aren't thinking about therapy all the time. When someone comes into their office, they're not thinking, oh, I need to refer them to a counselor. Especially, we see this with pastors. I mean, pastors aren't always thinking they need to do that. But when they do have someone that needs counseling, you want to be front of mind when they need that referral. So you've got to develop that relationship consistently and checking on them to be able to be front of mind, because honestly, some of these people are only going to need to refer a few times a year, because that's just how often they're in a situation to need to refer, while others, such as doctors' offices, are going to be needing to refer more often. So you want to have consistent touch points with your relationships so that they continue to remember you throughout the year. I try to make sure that we reach out to referral sources at least every 3 to 6 months. So we're looking at 2 to 3 times a year to keep that relationship going. Obviously, you don't want to be annoying about it, but you want to make sure that you continue to have a relationship with them. So connection points don't need to be complicated. You don't have to overthink it. Connecting with others in whatever way feels comfortable and authentic to you. So sometimes for me, it's sending a quick text like this person that refers to me a lot at a church. Sorry about that. Okay. Then I'm just saying, hey, wondering how you're doing. Is there anything that you need right now while COVID's going on? I know church has been crazy lately. Just thinking about you. Like just a quick text, or you send them an email. How are things going at your office? I know it's been a lot going on with COVID, yada, yada, because that's just a common thing to be able to talk about. But here we go. We'll go to the next slide and I'll give you some other examples. So keeping the relationship going, referring to them. So if you have the ability to refer to their practice, do it, because then they're going to refer back to you. Get a release of information from your client and call and discuss the case. This is really helpful, especially in my relationship with schools. School counselors oftentimes refer to therapists and they never know what happens and they never get a call back. If you are the therapist that takes the time to get the release, to call the provider back, it could be a school counselor, a pastor, a doctor, whoever. they are going to be really remembering you over all the other people, right? Think about when you as a therapist have to refer one of your clients to another counselor, or maybe like you're seeing the wife and you need to refer out the husband, and then you try to get that counselor to call you back to talk about the case. I mean, I feel like I can barely get a counselor to call me back about something like that. So if you're able to make that extra effort, it will go very far in getting you more referrals. You can add people to your email list, which we're going to talk about email lists next week, but email lists is really helpful. Then we just talked about the text, email, phone to like check in, following up with them if something reminds you of them. So like one of the people that refers to me, I saw the other day, their child got married on Facebook. So I sent her a text. Hey, I just saw your daughter got married. She looked beautiful in her dress. Congratulations. That's me making a touch point for my 3 to 6 month touch point. She's thinking about me. And it doesn't always have to be about business. It can be about personal stuff too, because a personal relationship will go far. Get services at their work. So maybe you would go there. So like Stephanie would go see if she was going to see a chiropractic, she might as well go to one that refers to her, so that they're thinking about her more and they have more of a relationship. And then you can invite them to a practice event. So maybe you have an open house at your practice, or you're speaking at something, invite them to come to that. Or maybe there's a local event that you're thinking, a yoga studio might like this because it's about such and such. And so you invite someone that you know that owns a yoga studio that refers to you, hey, you want to go with me to this event? So there's a lot of options here for keeping relationships going and making it fun and authentic and not so, I don't know, stale in the box type stuff. Okay, what to do when they refer somebody. So they finally refer. You better do everything you can to get the client in. One of that OBGYN office, the one where my friend and texted us, the first time they referred somebody, we did all we could to get that person in, because when you get that person in, they're going to see that you do good clinical work and they're going to refer to you again. So if that means you have to change your schedule to be able to offer an opportunity. So maybe, especially when I was at the beginnings of my practice, and I hated working after 5. I'm not very good after 5, but I would work after 5 because I had to. And then I'd get a referral that could only come at 6 or 7 o'clock. Well, normally I wouldn't stay that late, but I did, so that I could get these referrals and so I could build this relationship. And of course, now I'm able to have a practice where I never work after 5, And so some of it is having to work really hard to be able to get those relationships. But once you get good, solid relationships, then you get good, solid referral base coming in. And a lot of times we'll even offer a sliding scale to be able to meet somebody's needs, especially if they're a first referral from a doctor's office. And normally someone's rate is 110. Maybe we make it 90 to be able to fit that person in and to be able to keep that relationship going. When you can, get the ROI signed by the client. Now, that's not always going to happen. They may not sign it, but most people, especially if they got referred directly by somebody, they're going to sign that ROI. So if their OBGYN referred them, they're going to sign that. And then following up with that referral source. We already talked about that. A good and low cost way to get more clients is to do good clinical work. Clients are going to tell others about you. So this anxious mother that you've helped so much is going to go back to her doctor at her annual visit. And the doctor's going to say, oh yeah, we talked about your anxiety last time. How's that going? Well, you know what? I went and saw Stephanie and she did excellent work with me and I hardly have any anxiety anymore. He's going to go, oh, what's her name again? And he's going to write it down. And then another anxious woman's coming in the next day. He's going to say, well, I have a client who just saw Stephanie and she got a lot better. You should go to her practice. And you're going to get referrals. And that is exactly this pediatric place. I had like 1 or 2 kids that I saw there that got better working with me. And then they went back to the doctor and told the doctor, and that doctor kept referring other teenagers to me. And she kept saying, Whitney is just excellent with teenage girls. There was one client who like couldn't swallow a pill. And by the time she was done working with me, she could swallow a pill, which was obviously a really big deal for her in the doctor's office and everything. So she went right back to her doctor and said, I can swallow my pills now. Of course, the doctor thinks that I'm amazing and starts referring to me. And actually that doctor became a client of mine. because she had anxiety and she wanted to work with me. And she didn't want to work with anybody else because she had seen me do work with other people. So being able to do that good clinical work will allow you to get more clients. And then I want you to show gratitude for the referral. A lot of times people get a referral and they don't do jack afterwards. But so then no one knows that the person even showed up. I mean, think about, man, I think about when I send a gift to somebody, the worst is when you mail a gift and you never know if they got the gift, right? And then you're like, did they get the gift? Do I need to text and find out if they got the gift? They never sent a thank you note for the gift. And like, it really is a little, like, not that the gift is about that, but you feel a little offended that they didn't tell you if they got the gift or not. So it's the same thing. They're going to send you a referral, which is a big deal. This is someone that they care for and trust, and they're sending them to you. And you better make sure that you follow up with them and you tell them that you appreciate it and let them know that they are in good care, that you're going to do good work with them. So get the ROI and follow up with the referral source. Not every client is going to sign an ROI, right? So if you don't get the ROI, you can still send a thank you note or to the referral source and tell them thank you for thinking about you. You don't have to say who the client is. You can just say really generic, I really enjoy working with you and really enjoy helping people that you send my way. If there's anything I can do, let me know. Simple as that. So not only can you call the referral source and thank them and talk about the case, but then you send the note too. We send a note after every referral that we get at our practice. And yes, I delegate that out and have someone that does it for me because there's no way I could keep up with all that. But I think if you can, send a handwritten note. Handwritten notes go so far, and y'all know that because when you get a handwritten note from someone, it makes you feel special. And then it's important to make it personal as much as you can, the note. And then, maybe this is on the next slide, but don't make it about your practice. A lot of times people put their logos really big on things, or they have a card that's like Water's Edge Counseling on the front. Just say thank you. Like, make it about them and not about you. So if you're giving them a gift with a pack of pens that have your practice on them and notebook stuff, little Post-it notes that have your practice on them and a mug that has your practice on it, you make it about you and not about them and what they're going to benefit from. So whenever you can, you want to obviously make sure they know it's from you, but then you can just make it about them and not about yourself. If it's a new referral source, so go back to the very beginning of the slides on creating a relationship. So sometimes someone, like one time I had a girl come in and faith was a really big part of the work we were doing together. And I did feel like talking to her pastor would help me on the clinical side. So I got her to sign a release for her pastor. So I called the pastor and said, hey, I'm working with this girl that, comes to your church, yada, yada. And then we really got to know each other through working together on that client. And then he referred other people to me simply because I reached out to him because this random person had come in who wasn't even referred by him. So I was able to kind of use that to form a relationship. You want to give gifts as a way to show gratitude and appreciation. You don't want the gift to be too big because we know that that's unethical. You also can't give a gift after every client like a kickback. That would be really bad. But I think giving a very small gift once or twice a year is not a bad thing. And that could be so many different things. Like we talked about the handout on postpartum depression. You could give them a gift card. You could give them a candy, a coffee mug. But like we said, make it about them. So what we most recently did was we went to all the private schools that we work closely with because the public schools weren't in at the time. But we went to all the private schools and gave them a handwritten note and a very small plant, one of those plant your own thing, and it has a little seed in it. And they could put it on their desk and watch the plant grow throughout the year. So it's like $6 each. And we passed them all out. We got referrals day of when we handed out that plant. In fact, I think she said that was like a kid waiting to get referred. Then the marketing girl showed up with the gift, and then she told them to come see us. So, all right. That's the end of the presentation. What questions do you guys have? Y'all got it all figured out?
The step-by-step of all of that was super helpful.
Okay, good. So who's ready to make 3 new contacts before the next time we meet?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you ready? You gonna do it?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be so proud.
Okay.
3 new ones, or it
3
can
new
be a
ones.
current client that you see get the release and follow up with somebody.
Okay.
Do something.
Okay.
Like we just had some person call. It was like, I was like, how did you hear about us? Oh, this doctor over at the hospital down the road. And I was like, I don't even know who that man is. Give me his full name. And he gave me the full name. And we're going to follow up with that guy. Someone we don't even know is referring to us. Well, we're going to now get a strong relationship going so that we keep getting referrals from that person.
I have a question with the follow-up. Kind of goes back to the first weekend because I sent out emails and I worked my my contacts with the church. You know, it's like should I contact about getting on referral list or whatever, and they'd give me these names and I'd write that person, but I have, you know, I can't seem to get in the door with that church person.
So the client allowed you to contact the church on their behalf, and then that
friends I have in the church, like, or that work at the church, did I say, hey, you know, I'd love to get in contact with the person that sees couples or does that kind of thing, and then it kind of dead ends. But as I'm saying that, I'm wondering if it'd be better to go back to that person and say, hey, can you introduce me?
Yep.
Because I'm hearing back from them.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to do it. Or if they're letting people in, if your friend is at the church when the pastor's there for some reason,
yeah,
hey, can I meet you up there? And let's go out for lunch. Maybe you can introduce me.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I just got nothing from all of that. And
Mm-hmm. And there are definitely going to be times that nothing happens. Like,
right.
I've hit lots of roadblocks, but you keep trying. We had one school where I got a really rude response from the counselor at that school, even though I saw lots of kids from that school.
Yeah.
I won't go into all that. But then, like 2 years later, when my group practice was going, I asked my new kids person, I said, will you try reaching out and see if you get a better response? And she did, and got the best response ever. They had a turnover of staff. Now that's one of our highest referral sources for schools, but it took me 3 years to get in over there.
Yeah, bad day. Okay.
Yeah, but now it's a good day.
Now it's a good day. Yeah.
We probably have like 10 kids from that school at our practice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And one of their counselors.
Right. Right. Yeah.
I have a question. When you have a new clinician join your practice, how do you talk to them about tapping into their network without it being like pushy that you do that?
Like, you want to get into the network of the person you're hiring?
Mm.
You know, you just tell them, no, I'd be pushy about it.
Okay.
Like, hey, do you want to get more clients? Then tell me about
Okay.
these people. Let me market you to those places.
Okay.
I'm going to take them a gift for us. You're going to get more
Okay.
clients.
Okay.
It's beneficial to them.
Okay.
Yeah, I maximize all my people. Hey, what church do you go to? Let's go over there. Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, I want you guys, if y'all have 3 connections in the next week, I would be ecstatic. Okay. Feel free to post in the Facebook. Oh, yeah.
Whitney, I have a question because I have a client, 6-year-old boy, and then the client's parents already gave me an ROI, and then I was thinking to connect with his classroom teacher because this is because of his behavior at school. So, what do you think of that?
Hands down, yes.
I like that.
This is how you're going to get clients. So none of the other counselors call, but you're going to call, and together y'all are going to help this little boy, and he's going to get a lot better. And then you're going to get every single referral from that teacher after that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I would get in touch with the school counselor too.
That's a good one. Never thought of it.
This is happening to us all the time. The school counselors is because we call back, we create treatment plans with the counselor. And then like sometimes we might be talking to the counselor every 3 weeks or something as they're going through treatment. And then especially if you have a bad experience with your client, because we know clients will dip out of therapy too early, we will call the referral source and say, and this is obviously with the ROI in place and everything, just want to let you know that the parents didn't want to bring their kid anymore. They didn't think they needed it. I recommended that they stayed, because what you don't want is the kid to go back to school and the counselor to think, man, they did terrible treatment. They didn't get better at all. You know, well, they don't know that the parents dipped them out.
Right.
Same with churches. I'll call the pastor and let them know.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about the teacher though. The counselor makes sense, but doing an ROI with the teacher is an interesting idea.
Especially the younger ones, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Cool. I'm sure you've all got appointments after this. So y'all are doing great, and we'll meet again next week and go over email lists. Use the Facebook membership group so that we can, or the Facebook group so we can learn from one another. And if you have any questions, reach out, okay?
Thank you.
All right. Yep, take care.
Thank you.
Nice
Bye.
day, everybody. Thank you.